All right.
Yes, it is. Okay, good. Go.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Colleen Reilly, mom to two, almost young adults, and I'm secretary to the board for OFO. And I run the birding group Angie mentioned, the Pipits. It's been running regularly since June 2019. Last summer, I was able to make a trip to Churchill for 7 nights, and I'm super excited to share this trip report with everyone tonight. When I was just little, my mom and dad both did field work in the far north of Canada, and I caught the bug from them. I can't get enough of Canada's North Country. The words of Robert Service speak to me almost constantly. The wild calls to me. And one of the places I always wanted to explore was Churchill. In the summer of 2024, we started talking about going to Churchill seriously. We wanted to go last summer, the summer of 25. And so I reached out to a number of people, and eventually we got a group of 4 together. Originally, we were going to go up with a tour company, but we decided that we wanted to do such a customized trip that we would put it together ourselves, which was not the easiest thing to do. But thank goodness Jude has been an event planner and she helped put it together, and we did it. One of my goals for the trip, actually, one of our goals for the trip was to get our boots on the ground a lot and to get out on the water. We just wanted to get to know the landscape in an intimate way. We wanted to go when the birds were breeding, but it was important for us to get familiar with the whole of the natural world that makes up the ecosystem. And so this trip report's going to cover more than just birds. We'll be looking at all kinds of nature photographs. And I hope by the end of it, everyone here feels a sense of kinship with Churchill area. So our group consisted of, sorry, my screen's gone weird. Our group consisted of myself, Jordy, Jude, and Eugene, Toby Ann, and Bill. Some of us are OFO members, some are also Pipit members, and one of our group even lives in Alberta. So we come from very different walks of life, but we shared a love of nature and adventure. And we ended up calling ourselves the Churchill Six. So our trip started on June 27th, 2025, and we flew back to Winnipeg on July the 4th. And I thought this quote was quite fitting. That's always kind of been my motto, and that's behind my solo trips out into the wilderness. I wanted to discover what there was to discover and not reach a point and look back and not have seen it. Before I get started with our trip report, I just wanted to share some details about the Indigenous history of Churchill first. I looked into it, I did some research. I didn't learn much about it in Churchill itself. We learned some, but what I found was quite tragic. The area has been inhabited for centuries by Indigenous people that used the local area for their culture and trade. Since before the European contact in the 1600s, the area was inhabited mainly by the Dene and Cree people. And colonization had a disastrous effect on their culture and on their people. I've included a few links in this page, and I'm able to send this out as a PDF, and we've also got it recorded on YouTube if people are interested in looking further into it. This book is called Night Spirits, and I learned about it from my mom. It's been written to share the stories of the Dene people's experience. It's available through the University of Manitoba Press, and it sounds like a very important read. So I just wanted to mention that, no talk about Churchill is complete with some storytelling about the Indigenous people that populated the area for centuries prior to European contact. Now, Europeans came into the picture in the early 1600s with Henry Hudson exploring the bay in 1608. Then in 1619, Jens Munk was a Danish explorer who brought 64 people to the Churchill area, and they overwintered. They were not prepared for the winter, and 62 didn't make it out. By 1670, the Hudson Bay Company had been formed and the fur trade had begun. And by 1717, Fort Churchill had been built to support the fur trade. And that's when Churchill was first known as a center of trade. Churchill became a departure point for the first overland journey to the Arctic Ocean in the 1770s. And that trip was made by a European, Samuel Hearne, and also by a Dene band leader and warrior named Matonabbee. Matonabbee's band controlled much of the fur trade between the Hudson's Bay Company and the Dene bands to the northwest. If you go to Churchill, you have to make sure you get over to Sloop's Cove, which is no longer a cove. The land has bounced back as the result of the springback that happens as the glaciers receded and the earth begins to regain itself and decompress. But at Sloop's Cove, there's a whole bunch of carvings that people made in the 1700s and after. And Samuel Hearne has an inscription there that he put, I think, in 1776 or something. I think that's what it was. But yeah, it was just remarkable to see. It's like being connected through time to someone who lived centuries ago. By the end of World War II, the railway had been constructed, and Churchill was moved over to the east side of the Churchill River, and it became a bustling seaport. So this is our trip report on eBird, and it's public, I think. So people are welcome to have a look at it. We saw 68 species over the week that we were there. And I don't think you can see that. It's probably too small, but we saw surprisingly a lot of robins, and we couldn't figure out what robins were going up to Churchill for when they don't have to. We didn't get an answer to that question. But one of the birds that we first saw, we went out in the afternoon of June 27th. We went out with a man named Dave Alcorn with Discover Churchill. And one of the first birds that we found was a semi-palmated plover. And I like the photograph on the left because it shows the feet. So you can see the partial webbing between the toes. And that's what semi-palmated stands for. There's also an egg in one of the photographs. And here's Mama with her egg. And you can see she's surrounded by flowers. Those are all called dryas or mountain avens. They form thick mats. They're everywhere. It was just spectacular. This is an Arctic tern. We saw a lot of them. And I thought the picture on the right was quite entertaining. You can see how short the tern's legs are when it's standing, it just looks so silly. This is a herring gull on a nest. She's got a baby with her. We'll see the babies a bit in more detail later in the presentation. And this is just in a small pond right in the town of Churchill. So our first boots on the ground outing was a hike at low tide out to a wreck called the SS Ithaca. It's an old shipwreck. But before we got out to the tidal flats, Dave showed us this patch of Mystacini primrose. And it was just remarkable. I don't know if you can tell from the photograph, but it was spectacular. I'm going to say that word probably way too many times tonight. So you can see the shipwreck here. That's the SS Ithaca. In the foreground, you can see all the flowers, and those are the thick mats of dryas that I mentioned. They just were growing all over. It's such a harsh habitat, but it flourishes. So this is for my dad, a little bit of geology. My dad's a geologist, and I collect rocks from everywhere, which means my boxes are pretty heavy when I move. But anyway, starting off hundreds of millions of years ago, the rocks that define the Churchill landscape started out as sandstone. My dad might need to correct me on this, but my understanding is that quartz infiltrated into the cracks of the sandstone, and the ridge of sediment-covered sandstone changed over time into quartzite. The eastern parts of this now quartzite ridge broke off, forming the bluffs that surround the Ithaca shipwreck. Before we got on our hike out to the wreck, there was so much to see. Everywhere you look, there's something on a micro level. It's just the diversity is phenomenal. This is Arctic wintergreen, and again, dryas or the mountain avens. And you can see all the little pointy leaves. Those are the mats that the dryas make. And this is the patch of Mystacini primrose. And there's a close-up. You can see how delicate the flowers are. So that's Mystacini primrose. And I don't know if you can see the leaves, but they're a little bit segmented. And you can't really see the leaves in this one, but this is Greenland primrose, which is a slightly different plant, but it was growing amongst the others. This is Dryas, again, mountain avens, forming thick mats in the crevices of the Churchill quartzite, and you can see the lichen surrounding it. I believe it's called sunburst lichen, I think. I'd have to look it up. But it was just everywhere you look, there's flowers and birds and things that you have to stop and look at. This is snow cinquefoil. And I think there was 4 or 5 different types of cinquefoil there. And there's the wreck sitting on the tidal flats. There's another view of it as we got closer. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the ship. the history of it. So this ship had a varied history. It went by a number of different names and owners. In September of 1960, it was set to go out to Rankin Inlet, and it went out in a gale, 80-mile-an-hour gale, and its rudder broke and it ran aground. And so it's been sitting in this spot since 1960. Because it's accessible at low tide, everything was salvaged from it. I've got a video here. And this shows we're out on the tidal flat. Can you see the video? Okay. So we had to wear boots. We were walking through all these little tidal pools. It was just spectacular again. And as you can see on the horizon, the storm was approaching. And there you can see the ridges formed by Churchill quartzite. So the storm rolled in while we were out there, and we made it just back to the truck in like just in time. And I liked the different textures that I got to see out there, the wave marks left on the sand and the weathered hull of the ship. You can almost see one of the earlier ship's names in one of the pictures. And of course, the Churchill quartzite, which is also called gray Metawacky, because it's gray, and Metawacky because it's gone through a metamorphosis, and wacky, I'm not sure my dad would know. So now some birds. We saw lots of fauna when we were out at the SS Ithaca. This is a savanna sparrow. The white-crowned sparrows were all over, as were the insects. So we did have our bug suits with us. And we didn't need them all the time, but when we were more inland, we did. And then we saw 2 caribou out on the tidal flats. There's a closer shot. And so just a note about the caribou, we wanted to use iNaturalist, of course, to record what we saw along with eBird, but we were told not to release the sightings of the caribou because of hunters. I think the caribou came out to the flats because they're getting away from the bugs that are more inland. How's my speed there, Angie? Am I going too fast or too slow?
I think it's just perfect because I like to look at the photos for a minute. So
Okay. Okay,
I
thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah.
So while we were at the SS Ithaca, we saw a flock of Hudsonian godwits and a parasitic jaeger. And we saw the semi-palmated plover on her nest. And then in the cracks of the gray Metawacky or the Churchill quartzite rocks, we saw lots of ambitious plants growing. So their Dryas or mountain avens was there, but there was also prickly saxifrage. Everywhere I looked, there was something to see. This harsh environment somehow supports so much life. It's just incredible. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. I think everyone that goes there is just blown away by it. So this is the start of our second day, June 28th. We went out with a company called Custom Churchill Tours. And that company is owned by Brendan. We went out with Bryden, who was a lovely young fellow. He has I think his daughter, I think he had a daughter that was a year old or something, but just wonderful people. And this is prickly saxifrage. And there's a little bit of fireweed growing in front of it. We weren't there to see that flower, unfortunately. This is boreal sweet vetch. And bog rosemary, just a tiny little plant there, but it grows in big patches in the right habitat. Beautiful little flowers, and you can see it's tiny. This is Arctic raspberry. A lot of the plants are very small. Easy to miss. There's more Arctic wintergreen. And these are called velvet bells. To me, they look like they're related to
Sage.
sage. What about
This is it.
paintbrush? And there's a close-up of a mat of dryas. This plant was called Northern Rock Jasmine. I didn't see it very many places, but in this one spot, it was just spectacular in a big clump. This is Arctic arnica and young fireweed that's just starting to get flower buds on it. And the next set of pictures, we'll see some belugas. We went out with Bryden on the Churchill River estuary. And that's an area, I believe, where the ocean water mixes with the river water. So they seem to congregate in that area. There must be a lot of food. It must be rich in aquatic life. And they were definitely feeding. There was probably thousands of them. It was remarkable. Mature belugas are white and the young are dark gray. And we often saw young traveling alongside their mothers. And that was an attempt at the tail, a shot of the tail. Everyone wants one of those. I think I took about 5,000 pictures trying to get one. And this is a video taken of the crowd of belugas. You can see that there's several moms with their babies surfacing together. And we were in a metal bottom boat, so we could hear the sounds of the belugas. They had a speaker that they put down in the water. I didn't get a video of it, but we could hear it through the speaker, but the boat itself actually magnified the sound. So there's the boat we were in, Custom Churchill. Bryden is driving it. We were able to stand up in this boat and walk around a little bit, and it was much easier to do photography than it would have been if we'd been in one of the Zodiacs. And you can see there's a couple of people on a mat floating behind one of the Zodiacs. And I have to say that there is no chance I would ever, you could not pay me enough. The belugas are very curious. They're playful animals. They're not aggressive, but they are curious. And I just don't want to be in the water with them. This next photograph, oh, let me introduce the people in the photo. That's myself, Bill, Bryden, Jude, Eugene, and Jordy. And behind Jordy is Toby Ann. And the next photo is a little disturbing. It shows injuries on the belugas. And Bryden told us that the injuries are from polar bears or from ice. I wish I knew the stories behind the wounds. You can see that there's scars as well, so they do heal up. I'd love to know, like, to track them and see how they progressed. And we saw some great birds as well. On day 2, we went out with Discover Churchill in the afternoon with Dave Alcorn again. And this, I didn't make notes of it, but I think that was a ring-bill gull rookery. I'm not sure. Jordy might remember. If you do, maybe you can throw it in the chat. But if you look on the side of the pond closer to us, you can see all the common eider ducks. And those are all female common eiders mostly. You can also see that it was a misty morning or afternoon, I guess it was. But the ducks show the effect of the mist. They're all really bedraggled looking. So there's northern shovelers here and pintails and a widgeon. And I think there's a green-winged teal in there too.
Pardon? So you're going around and finish your film? No, I'm not.
These guys were pretty far out. I had a 1:500 lens and I couldn't get them very sharp. But these are Hudsonian godwits that were feeding on the tidal flats. You can see how their bellies are really rusty. And these are a pair of lesser yellow legs, also showing the dampness. So we were done with the SS Ithaca hike at this point. We were just looking around to see what we could see. And Dave spotted something. I don't know how far away. It was through the scope and it was just a little fuzzy white spot. So we went closer to it. We drove over to that area. And he found us a male polar bear wandering along the shoreline in, oh yeah, this is day 2, in the area of the SS Ithaca. So now I understand why he carried a gun. And that's why no one goes out in the field in Churchill without a bear guard. I love how the bear just lay down like a puppy and just kind of nonchalantly watched us. And after that, we went inland. The next thing we found was a sandhill crane doing what they do, that little dance where they flutter up and bounce down. But this sandhill crane wasn't alone. It had some company. It was being mobbed by a parasitic Jaeger. Beautiful birds. In the Hamilton area, we see them a kilometer out from Van Wagner's. So they're usually a little speck on the horizon. We got some great views in Churchill. In the second part of my presentation in February, I actually have a parasitic Jaeger sitting on a nest, which was just fantastic. So while we were there looking at this mobbing of a sandhill crane, we saw another caribou. I'm not sure which kind of caribou it is. I don't know if maybe Jeff would know. Barren ground. I think there's a couple of herds that are near Churchill, but I'm not sure which this was from. And then as we continued on inland, we went here to this plane wreck, which is affectionately known as Miss Piggy. It was a plane that was used during the Second World War by the US military. This particular plane crashed in 1979, shortly after takeoff. There was some mechanical problems with one of the engines. And there was 3 crew members who were slightly injured, and sounds like they walked away. So there's some of the murals on the plane. Churchill is covered in murals. There was, I think, one year where artists came and painted and drew fantastic murals all over the town. Surrounding the plane site, there was a garden. It was a rock garden. It was fantastic. This is Lapland azalea. It was a very exciting find. And snow willow. This is sea sandwort, which is edible. We tried it and didn't need to go have activated charcoal after. This is soapberry and a wildflower I couldn't identify. So if anyone knows what that flower is, please let me know. This is Rop's paintbrush. And you can see the flower itself is inside those bright pink. I think they're called brats. And the rest of it is colored leaves, I guess. They're not the actual flowers. The flowers themselves are very small. Then we found a family of willow ptarmigan. And there's Mama. and Daddy. And you see the red line over the bird's eye. I don't know if that's called the supercilium or if there's another name for it, but it's very fleshy. I don't know if you can see in the picture, but it's not feathered. So I said we found a family. That's because there was babies everywhere. There's two in this picture. Can you see them? No? I'm going to try to point them out. There's one here. Can you see the pointer? Oh, sorry, I went. There's one here. Ah. Anyway, I will stop playing with the pointer. And this little guy noticed us. This is the start of day 3. This is our last day in this presentation. We went out again with Dave from Discover Churchill in the morning and again in the evening. And then Jordy and I had a rented truck and we went out in the afternoon. We didn't go far from the truck, I'll tell you that much. But we did, step out to get pictures of plants and birds, but we always stayed very close. This is bog bean. And there's more Churchill quartzite with lichen growing through all the crevices. And bearberry. Boreal sweet vetch growing with the arnica. And more bog rosemary. Remember that tiny little plant? It tends to grow in larger clumps like this when it's in the right habitat. And so we were walking down a road in this area that had a lot of, I don't know if it was a fen or a bog, but it was really damp. And we saw Hudsonian godwit. And again, there were babies everywhere. So there's one baby in this picture to the right of Mama. I got a closer shot of the baby. So fluffy. And the mom just kind of stayed hunkered in the same spot. We didn't really know why until she took off and left, I think, 3 little ones behind. Thankfully, she returned quickly and gathered them all up. And you can see the fog. It was surreal. This is a little pond, and the Pacific loons were swimming in the pond, and then we noticed they had a baby with them. And the same thing with the herring gull, had a few fledglings with it. We went back and checked on our semi-palmated plover near the SS Ithaca wreck, and the egg had hatched. So you can see the little one tucking itself under her wing. And then there was some long-tailed ducks in the fog. And then in the evening, we went with Dave and explored the Churchill River a bit more. And here you can see the level of the water. It was really low, which I think is the result of damming upriver. And that has an impact on people's ability to live off the land there with fishing. This is a Lincoln sparrow. They were quite common. And this is the gray Metawaki again, the Churchill quartzite. There was areas that were just rock everywhere. It was spectacular. This is another cinquefoil. I think this is, I don't know how you pronounce it, Egedes or Edgedes, Edgeds. I'm not sure. Marsh Labrador tea. Here's another Mysticini primrose. Don't you want to just take these flowers and put them in your garden? They're just so beautiful. There was stuff to see everywhere we looked. This is narrow mushroom-headed liverwort. And Scottish false asphodel. And these are all very short plants. They're maybe 2 or 3 inches. And then we found orchids. So this is a small northern bog orchid. And northern coral root. And my favorite, the small round-leaved orchid. And if you look at the plants surrounding it, you can see just how small the plant was. There's dryas flowering around it, almost dwarfing it. And then this was one of my favorites, the prickly saxifrage and the sunburst lichen. In the evening, as the sun was coming down, we had that golden light. We came across a spotted sandpiper that was putting on a display. So we must have been close to a nest. Needless to say, we didn't stay long because of respect for the bird, but I did manage to get a few shots. We also saw a foraging rimbrel. And with that, I'm going to wrap up. There's going to be part 2 of this presentation, I believe, on February 4th. Is
That is correct, because our February 4th presenters, we don't end up having any.
I'm in.
It was supposed to be the campers, but they're all shy this year. They don't want to. So Colleen has ever so graciously offered to do part 2, and I'm so excited because part 1 was absolutely spectacular.
Thank you. I hope that it gave you a good sense of how diverse this place is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful.
And you know what? Like I put this in here. Be like the Churchill wildlife, and as Winston Churchill said, never give in.
Never, never, never give.
Never. Yeah. Thank you
Well,
very much for this opportunity, Angie.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
And if anyone has questions, there's a lot going in the chat. People
Oh, is there?
expressing their appreciation. I don't know if there's any questions there. They all just kind of popping in. But fantastic. Eva appreciated you including the botany and geology. And I should have said that when we were introducing Colleen, that she's quite a gardener. So I'm not surprised that you included a lot of plants there.
Yeah, it's an obsession. When we moved up to Aurelia, I brought my garden with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. Those plants, I don't know if you could have them in Aurelia.
I think they need that harsh environment.
Oh yeah, for sure they do. But so amazing.
It was just, yeah. Yeah, and there's more to come. I've got a mom and cub polar bear,
Oh, wow.
and yep, there's more to come.
More to come, and we will look forward to it. Thank you, Colleen and Jordy. Thank you, everybody, for logging in tonight. This will be going up on the YouTube channel probably within the week, but stay tuned for part 2, February 4th. Invite your friends, and we'll enjoy that. Good night.
Just reading the chat. Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
I'll let the chat. Oh, yeah, I'm going to stay on for a few minutes too, and people might have comments. But, well,
Wonderful.
Colleen, I really want to go there now.
It's quite an adventure.
What do you use for a plant ID?
I use iNaturalist. I have a guide to Churchill. I'm going to include a bibliography in the second part.
Oh,
I've got
yeah,
a
okay.
few books on Churchill and Manitoba and Nunavut plants.
Yeah, you don't really have to carry a lot of field guides around anymore, do you, for stuff?
No, the phone, it's like a little computer.
It's not even little, really. Oh, it's small, but it's mighty.
Smarter than me, I'll tell you that. So is my camera. I got a new camera right before we went up. Yeah. But thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate seeing so many friends and family.
Yeah, we had a good group tonight.
Yeah.
Jude is a botany expert. Oh, that's helpful to have
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jean was there in the winter.
Oh.
I'm sure there was the Northern Lights then.
You wouldn't see all the plants in the winter, I guess.
You would not see the plants.
Oh.
Yeah. I'd like to see it at different times, but the plants were just remarkable.
Is it a fairly dry climate there, or is it?
It was pretty damp.
Pretty
it was
damp.
very misty. A number of days were misty. It was warm enough for shorts some of the time.
You were there late June into the first few days of July, is that correct?
June 27th to July 4th.
Yeah. Oh, and Jean says they saw the Northern Lights from the train.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's right. You took the train. We flew up, but you can take the train from Winnipeg, and it's a 2-night trip, I believe.
Yeah. And Jordy's just reminding you that within, a couple of weeks after that, you would have had a bunch of different flowering plants. You would too.
We need to go for a month.
Yeah.
Or more.
Ken and I went to Greenland about 8 years ago now, or 9.
Wow.
In the summer.
How was that?
It was a very, very dry climate there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which would mean less mosquitoes, probably.
There were no bugs. Now, I can't remember if it was July or August when we went, but there really were no bugs. It was quite chilly. I wished I had a warmer jacket.
Oh.
It was cool. It wasn't super hot, that's for sure.
I bet the scenery was spectacular.
Yeah, oh yeah, but quite different though. I don't remember there being a lot of small flowering plants when we were there. So maybe it was because it was later, or maybe
Oh,
it's just different. There was shrubs. Like it looked from a distance like there would be nothing there. It was just green. But
yes.
when you were walking in it, it was sort of over your knees shrubberies.
Oh,
Just yeah, knees to
interesting.
waist deep. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet it's the kind of habitat where you can't walk far because there's so much to see. It's like a toddler walk, right? You have to
Oh
stop
yeah.
and look at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun. Well, I think we'll call it a night.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you so
everybody.
much.
And we'll see you in 1 month, February 4th.
Oh, I see Erica Noel sent me a message that the bird with the chick with the long bill and orange breast was a short-billed dowitcher.
Oh,
That was in the
okay.
Sen, that's correct. Thanks so much for that. I'll correct it.
And Vicky's asking, do you need a scope or a big mag camera, or can you just use binoculars? Jordy's shaking his
Um, we had we had the scope
head. Yeah, he's got
and we
binoculars.
had the binoculars and I had a long lens on the camera.
Yeah. For those close-up shot, I guess you want the big lens, but
And
you know.
but yeah, I think you could do it with binoculars. Jordy's putting something in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's typing with his index fingers only.
He's giving you the
Oh,
finger. He's giving you the finger.
we didn't bring our scope, and that was a regret. Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But Dave had a scope. Oh, yeah. We wanted to get one for when we were out on our own. Yeah. We tried to borrow one, but we couldn't.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on what's in the vicinity, right? If it's a polar bear out far, you want to see it out far.
Yeah, you don't want to get too close to that there.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that was fun. Oh, bye guys. Thanks for coming.
All right, I should really stop the recording too, I guess, here.
Okay.
There we go.